Raise your hand if you've ever heard the term control freak. Guess what? You're looking at one. But I understand that if you control what you're doing, things will get done better and faster. So down the rabbit hole of control we go in this chapter. We're going to look at final destination, working toward a goal, and then controlling how we do it. Are you going to print? Are you going to the web? We're going to talk about that. Begin with the end in mind. We're going to control multiple documents. We're going to look at controlling our view and navigation features. We're going to look at controlling objects with grids and guides. We're going to control what we see. We're going to look at default measuring systems and controlling those. We're going to create multiple views of one object. We're going to look at hiding and locking things to control them. And we're going to look at using multiple artboards. Remember, Adobe Illustrator doesn't use pages, it uses artboards. This chapter is all about control. Control is efficiency, and that's what we are going to do. Let's get started. Okay, now in this chapter, we're digging deeper into Adobe Illustrator. We want to find out just how far down this rabbit hole goes. And we're going to talk about in this lesson intent of the document. So say you open one, or actually, that's kind of getting ahead of myself. What you're doing is you're creating a document from scratch, file new, and that's what we're going to do. What's the intent of the document? And that's very important when you think about it. Now you might say, and you'd be partially correct in saying this, that since this is a resolution-independent application, well, I know it would take time if I needed to make a change, but it wouldn't really impact anything because it's resolution-independent. And again, you'd be partially correct in saying that. But if there are certain things we can do to modify our workflow to prepare a document, say for print or the web, wouldn't it make logical sense to do that? And that's what we're going to do. There is an expression, begin with the end in mind. It came from a gentleman by the name of Stephen Covey, who wrote a book, among others, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And his second habit is begin with the end in mind. So before I start a document in Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, it doesn't matter, I need to know as much as possible the intent of the document. So we're going out to, fictitiously, we're going out to print. So let's key to that. Go up to the word File in the pull-down menu and go down to New. Now in New you have a lot of options. For example, we could change the name right here. Now understand, changing the name there doesn't save it at that point, but when you click File Save, the name is already there. So that's kind of nice to know. The profile is where we want to change things. We want to go to print, not web. I do a lot of video. It's kind of nice to know you have that. Let's go back to print. Now it begins to change things in here. For example, the sizes are based on print. Now US, like letter and legal and tabloid, European, A4, A3, B5, B4. Let's go letter. Let's just do letter. Leave it there. 612 by 792 points. I'm not big on measuring in points, at least for output to print. I like pica. I'm going to go here. Now you could go inches, centimeters, whatever you want. I'm going to change that to pica, and that's 51 by 66. I'm going to go portrait, not landscape. Now what is bleed? A full bleed document is one, and you've seen these, is where the ink goes all the way to the edge of the paper. But how it's actually printed is interesting. It's printed on paper that's larger than 51 by 66. And that area is where you move part of the graphic. So when they cut the paper to 51 by 66, it basically looks like it's been printed all the way out to the edges. So let me give that a little bit of a bleed so you can see that when we open it up. We'll do 6p, that's an inch. Okay, 6p to the inch, that's more than enough, actually a lot more. Typically bleeds run about 1/4 inch or about 2p. Okay, advanced options. We have a color mode of CMYK, a PPI of 300. You say, well, okay, wait a minute. This is Adobe Illustrator. It's a resolution independent, yes. But when you're going out to press, there are some things that get rasterized, and that's the number it's going to use, and that's a good number. Align to pixel grid, no, that's the default. If we click Advanced right here, color mode is here. You can change that if you want to. Here's the raster effect. Again, you can change that if you want to. And here's the preview mode. We'll talk more about that later. And then you've got Align New Objects to Pixel Grid. I usually use this one more when I'm working on things like the internet. So we'll go ahead and leave that one off. When we click OK, we have our document. Now see this huge red area? I only made it that big so you could see it. That's the bleed area. So here's the piece of paper, the, 8.5 by 11 if you're measuring in inches. If I come over here, say this is a graphic. Let's pretend that's a graphic. We're playing pretend now. What I would want to do to make sure when they cut the paper, this would go all the way to the edges, is put part of it out into that bleed, say something like that. And what that would do is guarantee when they cut it, it would look like it printed all the way to the edges of the paper. And that's how it's done on a press. Now, a lot of inkjet printers do full bleeds, and they do them on regular paper. That's not how presses work. They work on larger pieces of paper. So what we've done here, we're done, is we've set the document up. It is now ready for us to create something with an intent of going out to print. In the previous lesson, we worked on a document, or basically set it up, for intent to print. Now, Illustrator came out in 1987, and that's about what it did, layout to print and press. It would have been, in 1987, very unusual, highly unusual, to use anything in Adobe Illustrator for incorporation into a web page. But that was then and this is now. Illustrator is used quite a bit for web design. I can do entire mock-up sites and lay them out in Adobe Illustrator. So we need an intent, just like we did for print, but for web. Now we'll start out kind of the same way. Go up to the word File and go down to New. Pretty easy. This time let's give it a name. Now since that name will eventually bear no relationship whatsoever to the actual name of that page, call it anything that you want. Profile, I like these profiles because they help us out. They get us started. Doesn't mean I can choose print and change it to web, but if I go to web, a lot of the stuff's already filled out for me. So I'm going to go to web. Size says 960 by 560. Now if I click there, you see some standard ones like 1024 by 768, 8 by 6, 1280 by 800. What's 960 by 560? I don't know that one, Andy. Understand, according to the World Wide Web Consortium, 960 by 560 is the ideal width and height for a web page if it's being displayed on a standard 1024 by 768 monitor. That's why that's there. It's kind of nice to know. Let's go ahead and use that one. So we'll leave it right there. Now we've got landscape, which is obviously what we're going to use. Our units are pixels, which makes sense. We don't need a bleed on a web page. I'm not even sure why that's there, to be honest with you. And our advanced features are set up for us. Color mode is RGB. All monitors are red, green, and blue. Raster down to 72. Preview mode default. Again, we'll talk more about that later. Align new objects to pixel grid is on. Now why? Well, when you align objects to a pixel grid, and that's a good thing, anything we draw inside of Adobe Illustrator will automatically align to this invisible grid that's on that page. What does that do? It really helps prevent visual pixelization of the image when you're looking at it on a monitor. That's a good one to leave on. You go ahead and click OK. Now, if I press the shortcut Control-R, or Command-R on a Mac, Control-R in Windows, I get my rulers, and you will notice they are measuring indeed in pixels. But if for whatever reason I want to change that, and that wouldn't make too much sense here, because we're working on a web page, I could right-click my mouse and change it right here if I want to. Well, there you go. You got a blank tabula rasa page all ready for you to put together a really cool website. When you're working in Adobe Illustrator, it is not unusual at all to open up more than one document at a time. Now, I've got 4 open. They are in your working folder if you want to open them up. Multiple 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the thing I love about working with Illustrator, or actually Adobe products, InDesign, Photoshop, whatever, is that when you open multiple documents, by default, they will open up, you'll see the whole image, and they open up in tabs right up here. You open up another image, you just click on the tab, and boom, you've got it. So you have control over all of those images. Notice the information that you have. You've got the name, you've got the view, you've got the color space, and what mode it's in. So this one's RGB, and this one's CMYK, that one's RGB, that one's CMYK. So we can see that and make a decision maybe to open it based on that information. Now let me do this. Let me go File, New a couple of times. I'm just going to click OK. That's all. File, New. It will put them by default at the end of the train here. But notice what's happening to my tabs. It's trying its best to keep them all together. They're getting smaller. I'm losing the information. But if I have tooltips on, and that's in Preferences, and I hover, I can see all of that information again. Let me do this. Let me get rid of these and take us back to the way we were. Don't forget that if you did make changes and you tried to close it by clicking that X, it would say, are you sure you want to do this? Do you want to save your changes? Now, it is possible that when you're working, for some reason, you might want them in a different order, and that's easy too. All you got to do is click and drag and move them down the line until they pop into place. And one more thing here. I want to see more than one at a time. Now, the easiest way to do that is to click this button right here, and that's Arrange Documents. If I click it, I get different ways to view them. Here's a 2. Now, they go either side. Now, the active one will be over here with the other ones, and then whatever's left is going to be over here. So you got 3 over here, 1 over here. You could move it over here if you want to by dragging. We could go this way. They give you a whole bunch of different ways to view these. And maybe you're making a comparison of one image to another as you're working, and this would be a quick way to do it. If I come back up here again and click and take it back this way, we're back to default. Working with multiple images in Adobe Illustrator is not difficult. As a matter of fact, it's quite easy. Time for a question. How many out there can drive? Well, I think we all can, probably. Do you remember when you first learned to drive? Okay, I do. It was all, well, it was a new experience, obviously. But I mean everything like the placement of my hands on the steering wheel, the pressure I applied to the brake or the accelerator were all new, and I was very conscious of what I was doing. My whole mind was focused on getting that vehicle to keep from, I don't know, hitting the curb or hitting somebody else. Student drivers. Eventually, over the years, and it's been a while since I learned to drive, but eventually, well, it became second nature to me. I get in the car, I start it up, I drive a stick, I don't really think about the shifting. It's all very natural. It's second nature. Navigation should be second nature to you. In Adobe Illustrator, we need to get to places. We need to blow things up to make a change. We need to be able to do that in a second nature without thinking about it way. So let's talk about things like the zoom tool. It's been there forever. All programs have zoom tools, no big deal. But let's talk about it. Now it's down here. If you would like to select it without clicking on it, press the letter Z, and you can get it. If you want to go to the hand tool, which also helps you navigate, press the letter H, and you can go to that one. Let's go back to the zoom tool. Either click it or use the shortcut. Now, it looks like a magnifying glass. It acts like a magnifying glass. If I come over here and click, it will make that area bigger. Incidentally, I do have 2 images open. One's called Multiple 4, and the other one is called Navigation. And I'm getting it larger and larger. It's centering it around where I zoom. If I want to go back down the other way, hold the Alt key down. That's Alt in Windows, Option on a Mac, and go back down the other way. Now, if I double-click on the hand tool, it will reset the image into the window I'm working in and size it to whatever that window is. I'm at 96%. You can see that down here. If I double-click the zoom tool, it will take it into 100% even if it's bigger than the window can hold it. If you go up to the word View on the pull-down menu, you have in this area right here some shortcuts. I don't use the pull-down menu for zooming. It's too tedious. I remember the shortcuts. These are my favorites right here. If I come over and press the Control key, you don't have to have, don't forget, the zoom tool selected. You can have anything selected. But if I hold down the Control key, that's Command on a Mac, Control on Windows, and use the plus and minus keys, I can go backward and forward very quickly. So there's some, easy ways to learn how to use this tool. Let me double-click the hand tool again. Now down here, tucked away in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, right here, is a number 96 and a little arrow. If I click the arrow, I get all these presets. If I want to go to one really quickly, I can. If I want to go back to fit in size, I can come over here and fit on the screen. And that's like, double-clicking the hand tool, I suppose. But you do have an option right here, Fit Artboard in Window. like double-clicking the hand tool, which is Command 0. Okay, if you want to use that one, you can. Actual size is Command 1. Kind of easy to remember those two. Now, we look at the image, we navigate on the image, we use the zoom tool, we use the hand tool. Let me do that real quick. Let me use the shortcut, make it bigger. If I've got the hand tool selected, I think you know this, we can move it around. We can use these buttons down here if you want to, although I find them tedious because I have a mouse with a scroll area on it, and if I scroll, I can actually do it this way too, and I'm only using my mouse now. So there's a lot of ways that we can move around inside this image, but to me it's a second nature thing because I'm working. I want to get this thing done. I want to get where I want to go quickly. Now let me go ahead and double click on the hand tool. We'll take us back into fit into that window. We're not done. Let's look at, well, let me show you one more way. I kind of skipped this one. If you want to get to an area very quickly and you have the zoom tool selected, instead of going click, 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 if you come over here and click and drag over an area, it will open up that area like a window for you. Let me double click the hand tool again. Go up to the word window. I want to show you something else that helps you navigate. Window, and go down to Navigator. I like Navigator. Navigator is in InDesign, it's in Photoshop, it's in Illustrator. Basically, it is, once you get used to using it, kind of a quick way to get where you want to go. Now, you've got a small window, and it shows you the image. No matter what we do, we're going to see that image up there. Okay, we'll always see the image, and you got this big red box going around it. Notice that that red box simulates the area that we're looking in right now. If I come over here into 96, say I type in the number, I don't know, 300, as in 300%, and I press the Enter key, and that would be the return key on a Mac and the Enter key in Windows, and I just love, it's the same key, they just like to give it different names. Notice the red box right here. That is your kind of like movable area, that's the viewable area. If I click in here and move it around, I can very easily see the whole image and direct the box to the area that I want to work in. That's kind of nice, actually. Again, I can come back over here and double click real quick and do something like that. These little mountains right here, this one and this one, make it get bigger. It's kind of like using the zoom tool and alt clicking or option clicking with the zoom tool. That's what that's doing. We can go backward and forward that way all day long. But I do like the ability to have that red box right there and actually be able to change that. That's kind of nice. Now you have a slider. If you click the slider, the thing I don't like about the slider, there's a lag time. I move it, I got to wait, and then it does it. It's not smooth and fluid. And to me, I don't know, it's a little disconcerting. I don't like using that. But it is there if you want to like really go really fast up to maximum size, which is 6,400%. That's a lot when you think about it. Now if, and this is a big if for some reason you don't really like the red box, maybe you're working on an image that's primarily red, if we come over here and click and go into panel options, you can change the color right here. Okay, if you want to do that, you can. If not, just leave it at default, it'll be fine. Now go ahead and go into my next document called Navigation. Now watch what happens to the navigator when I do. This option right here basically is showing me these two. And up here, what you see, and there it finally came, it took a second to draw it. What you're looking at is two artboards. Now we will talk about artboards later. These are not multiple pages like say InDesign. These are artboards. So I have two pieces of art on two separate artboards, and the navigator will show me both of them. If I click on one, it will take me to that particular one. If I zoom in, it zooms in on all of them, of course, but there's one more area right down here. See the number 2? If I click there, it will show me a 1, because I only have 2, and it will take me to that one and zoom in on it, or it will take me to 2 and zoom in on it for me, or fit it to the screen. So no matter what you're doing, second nature to me is navigation. Being able to get where I need to go quickly, my destination, if you will, without a lot of hassle or thinking much about it. That's what navigation is for me, and, well, it should be for you too. In the previous lesson, I used an analogy, and I used the analogy of driving a car to talk about navigation. This lesson is about grids and guides, and tell you what, I got nothing. So let's just get into grids and guides and talk about how we can use them. Let's go to the word File on the pull-down menu in Illustrator, of course. and go to New. And I'm just going to use a default web here, just to open up a place to play. Our sandbox. I'm going to use a couple of tools that we haven't really gotten into yet. That's all right, we will. For example, I'll pick up this tool right here, which is the ellipse tool, and I can draw an ellipse. Or if I hold the Shift key down, I can draw a perfect circle. Just like that. It is selected. Let me come over here and give it a color so we can see it better. Come over, pick up my Move tool. Now we can move it, we know that. But if I hold the Alt key down, that's the Option key in a Mac and Alt key in Windows, then drag it, I create copies. Now I'm doing a lousy job of aligning these things up. Let's talk grids and guides here. I will admit up front before you say anything that, Andy, if you want to align those, say horizontally or vertically, there's a much easier way to do that through the alignment panel. I agree. But let's start here because there are some tricks about these we can use. Let's go up to the word View on the pull-down menu and go down to Show Grid. Now let's say we like that, but the color is very close to something we're working on, so it's hard to see, or we want to change the relationship of the guides themselves, or the grids. So we come up here and we go to the word Edit in Windows, Illustrator on Mac, and go into Preferences and go to Guides and Grid. Now in here, down here, here's Grid. Here's Guides up here. You can do kind of the same thing. Change the color of the guides and change from lines to dots if you want to. Down here you have a little bit more. For example, well, I want that grid a little bit more pronounced, darker. So I'll make it a little bit darker like that. That's fine. Close this out. Do you want solid or dots? I like solid. The grids are every 72. Okay, and there are 8 subdivisions between each one. You can change that. Do you want the grids in the back? If you turn that off, the grids come on top of everything. Now you can still select stuff. It's no big deal. But sometimes I do want them in the front. Sometimes I want them in the back. Most of the time I want them in the back. And do you want them to show above 600% zoom? Click OK. And see, they got just a little bit darker. Now I can come up and visually say, okay, I want them right there. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to move this one down here, which would be a tedious, painful kind of way to do it, but we could. But how do I know I'm getting them exactly left to right aligned up? Well, I can go up to the word View again and go down to Snap to Grid. So we have a grid, snap to the grid, which means that they will snap to those points automatically if I move things. Now that would be, I suppose, another way to do it, but I wouldn't recommend it because it would be kind of difficult. Now, let's say we're done using the grid, and we go up to the word View and we turn it off. It now says Hide Grid. You may notice something when you begin moving things. They're still going to snap to the grid. You don't have to see it for it to snap. So if you're having trouble moving things, and they seem to be going places you don't want them to go, you might go back to the word View and go down to Snap to Grid, turn it off, which then makes these free again. Let's talk about guides. Now, guides are produced through the rulers, so we need our rulers. The shortcut is Control, that's Control in Windows, Command on a Mac, R. Instant rulers. If we click on a ruler and drag, we pull out a guide. Now, let's say I want that guide at exactly over there on the left, 144. See right there? How do I know I'm really at 144? Now understand, what I'm about to do is a one-off. It will only work the first time you pull the guide out of that ruler. Hold down the Shift key while you're dragging it, and it will snap to the tick marks. And now I know it is exactly at 144. But what if I wanted it at 145 or 143 or 272 or whatever, a number that's not on the ruler? It is selectable. Okay, so select it. Come up here to Transform right here, and you can see it's 144. We nailed it, okay? But if I wanted it, 247, and then press the Return key, or that's Return on Mac, Enter in Windows, and boom, it will move it exactly there. Now, by default, guides are snap. It will snap to them automatically if you've got the guides out there on the screen. So we've got a horizontal guide. Let's say we're pulling another one down, but we forgot we wanted a vertical. So you say, well, I think I'll just get rid of this one. Do you ever try to put a guide back into the ruler bar in Illustrator? It's kind of like it teases you. It says, oh, go a little bit fast. Now, you can if you do it really fast. But tell you what, that is a hard thing to do. Here's an easier way to do it. Select it and delete it. It's an object. Just press the delete key. That's the backspace key in Windows. And delete on a Mac. Let me go ahead and get our stuff back by double-clicking on the hand tool. Okay, I'm dragging it down again, but again I made the mistake. I need a vertical, not a horizontal. Don't get rid of it. Don't delete it. Before you let go of your mouse, hold down the Alt key, Option key on a Mac, Alt in Windows, and it will reverse it into a vertical or whatever it wasn't. Let go of the mouse first, and so we've got a couple of guides on our screen now. If we go back to the word View and go to Guides, the options are to hide them temporarily, which is a Command or Control in Windows, Command on a Mac, semicolon. We can lock them, which means don't move them anymore. We can call Make Guides. We'll talk about that in a second. Release and then Clear. Let's say we're done with all of them, so we say Clear Guides. Gets rid of them. We don't have them anymore. Here's a trick in Illustrator that I really do like. Remember, guides are objects. Whether you know this or not, guides can go into a layer. Now, over here, again, we haven't really talked much about the Layers panel, but this button right here is for a new layer. So I click it. I make a new layer. I'm going to call that layer Guides because that's what's about to go into it. Make sure you have it selected. And so it looks like that. Now, go up here and grab a guide. If I come over here, watch. They are in that layer. Now, the cool thing about that is they're still maneuverable. We can change them. We can do anything we want with them. But if we click here, we'll lock that layer, and in doing so, we'll lock the guides. Now, guides don't print, so don't worry about that part of it. When I'm working in Illustrator, I use a guide layer. And I can do the same thing actually in InDesign. It's a very easy way to control them, but we're not done. Let me go ahead and press Control-A and delete. Now I'll unlock this one. If I press Control-A, delete, then those would go too. But since it was locked, they didn't get selected. That's another way to control them. Now let's leave the guides layer selected. And I want a guide that actually is, well, 45 degrees. Now I don't care what button you hold down. If you drag from here or here, you're getting a 90-degree vertical horizontal. Okay, that's what you're going to get. Check this out. Pick up your line segment tool right here and draw a line. Say, hold the Shift key down, you'll get 45 degrees. Now that's a line. I could use it to visually line things up, but nothing's going to snap to it because it's not a guide. But if I have it selected and I go up to the word View and down to Guides, I can say, make that a guide. And that is now a guide with all the rights and privileges of what a guide does. Snapping and everything else, no printing. You just made yourself your own guide. Now let me do a Control-A, delete again. Let's go into our rectangle tool, and let's go back to layer 1. Let me come over here, and I'm going to draw a box that literally kind of fills that area, and it will snap to the edges for you. And I'm just going to make the whole thing fit, and let's give it a color so we can see it. Now let's say that we want a couple of pieces out of that box. We want, well, let's do this. Let's make it simple. Let me pick up a guide from up here, and I'm going to pull it down to 144. I'll hold the Shift key down. Now, why am I doing this? Why do I want to cut that top part out? Well, I'm doing a web page, and I need two separate areas. And the top area is going to be for navigation, whatever. Now, here's the cool thing. Once I've done that with the guide, I can use the guide kind of like a knife. So if I pick up my selection tool, and I make sure that I do have that guide selected right there, the first thing I need to do, and it doesn't have to be in a separate layer. Actually, we drew both of those in the same layer. That's fine. If I go up to the word View and go down to Guides, I'm going to say Release the Guide. Now, what does that do? When you release a guide, it turns it into a line segment. As if it never was a guide, we can now use it as a line segment, just like the one we drew. But leave it selected, go up to the word Object on the pull-down menu, and go down to Path, and select Divide any of those objects that are below it. Divide objects below. Click it. Okay, if I come back up here again, you will notice I now have two separate pieces. Each one can be controlled independently of the other, and I've cut it using a guide. Now think about making a 45-degree angle guide, turning it into a guide, releasing it, and then saying divide objects below. Easy to do. Guides are more to me than aligning. If I'm aligning things, I'm probably going to use things like the align panel. But for cutting or maneuvering or getting specific types of guides at angles, guides can be a very valuable tool when you're working in Adobe Illustrator. We have an expression in the computer industry, and I know you've heard it. What you see is what you get. WYSIWYG. Now, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, that's not an accurate statement. There are too many variables going on. For example, on monitors, it's RGB color additive. Paper is CMYK subtractive. You can have a different calibrated system. You could be going out to the internet as opposed to print. Illustrator is set up primarily to go out to print. Doesn't mean we can't change it. I'm going to show you how you do that. But it's primarily set up that way. So a lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, well, you know, I did something in Illustrator and I was prepping it for the web, and so I saved it, did all that stuff to it. But when I put it out on the web page and looked at it, the color set really did look different. Now, quality-wise, it looked good, but the colors really shifted more than I had anticipated. Well, it's because it's set up for subtractive color. And the other thing is, I'm looking at this kind of like fish tank on my monitor. Incidentally, that is a document, if you want to open it, in your working folder called fishy.ai. And I'm working on it, and I'm teaching this lesson. So I see these colors. But by the time it gets to you with your monitor, the range on your monitor, called the gamut, the calibration of your monitor, you might see something slightly different. We live with that, okay? That's part of our lives. But if I want to change things, let's look at a couple of ways we can change view. For example, if you do go up to the word view on the pull-down menu, you have something called outline. Let's look at that first. Now what outline does, and it has nothing to do with printing, but it shows you the actual outlines of the objects. So you can tell maybe their complexity, kind of what they're made of, outline. The shortcut is Command-Y. That's Control-Y in Windows and Command-Y in a Mac to kind of toggle back and forth from that. Another thing that we know about working in Adobe Illustrator is that objects are resolution independent. If we come up here, we have something called a pixel preview. Let me show you something. Let me zoom in on this guy right here. I used to have a bunch of these when I was growing up. And we are now at 150% in terms of view. Now watch him carefully when I go up to the word view and change to pixel preview. Notice how he changed? Well, the change is, what if I do need to rasterize this image? And we'll talk about how you do that later. But the idea is I made him in Illustrator as this beautiful vector, but I can't use him as vector. I got to JPEG him, I got to GIF him, do something like that, because I'm putting him onto a web page and I need it to be rasterized. Well, that's what he is going to look like at 200%. Now, if I double click on the zoom tool, well, he looks pretty good even at pixel preview. But that's a good one to know if you're moving into the world of rasterizing your images. Pixel preview. Let's go ahead and turn that one back off again. You have another one up here called overprint preview. Now, if you are doing a lot of things to 4-color press, that's a good one to remember because it gives you an idea of what it's going to look like when you get through those 4-color plates and you're printing things like gradients and that, and it will show you exactly what's going to happen when it goes out to press. This is more of a basic course on Illustrator, so we're not going to go there. But remember, you've got that one too. Now, the other one I want to show you down here is what's called Proof Setup. Now, in Proof Setup, we are on Working CMYK. Now, that's the default because, well, Illustrator is primarily set up for going out to press. But you will notice we have things like Legacy Macintosh, Internet Standard. So, tell you what. Take a look at those guys swimming over there on the left. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm taking these things out to Internet Standard. What's it going to do to my colors? Watch them over there. It's saying that's the color set for a monitor. But if I am going out to print, that's how they would look if they were sent out to print. There's more vibrancy on a monitor. RGB colors can produce more saturation to a color than a piece of paper can, so you saw how they shifted. If you come back up here again, you even have options for things like color blindness. So you have a lot of different ways. Again, begin with the end in mind. Think about where you're going and then work in a proof view that shows you what it's going to look like for the final product. It makes sense. Begin with the end in mind. If you'd like, go into your working folder and open up one of the documents. I've got multiple 3 open. It really doesn't matter. We're going to talk about rulers and measuring real quick here. Now, let's say I have a document open and I want to know what it is in terms of its size. Well, one of the things I can do is look at the rulers. Now, the quick way is Control-R or Command-R on a Mac. Same keys, different names. And I get my rulers. And you will notice I am measuring in United States inches. Now, I usually don't use that measuring system. I use centimeters or I use pica or pixels, lots of different things. Let's say, again, for the sake of argument, that we are going out with this image to the internet. So I need a universal way to measure on the internet, and that, of course, would be pixels. A couple of ways that we can do this. Number one, you can go up to the word File on the pull-down menu and go down to Document Setup. Now, in Document Setup, it's right here. Now, let me get out of there and just press Escape, and it'll close that out. You have another option for Document Setup up here that takes you to the same place. Now, those are 2 places to get to the same thing. The easiest way to me to change the parameters, the rulers in this particular document, it's very document-centric, is right-click your mouse in the ruler and change it here. Now, I want to go to, say, pixels. And, well, there you go. Now we can measure in pixels. Now, let's say that every time we open up a new document, you really don't like the default measuring system. You would rather it be centimeters or pica or something else. But every time you open up a new document, it goes, say, to pixels, and you go, I don't want that. I want pica. What do? Well, you change that in Preferences. Preferences are more permanent. For example, Edit on Windows, Illustrator on Mac, go to Preferences and go to Units. And change it here to whatever suits your fancy. Now, typically, this is the one I use pica a lot, and I put it on pica. But whatever one that you use the most would make sense. Now, this only impacts, understand, this only impacts a brand new document. If you open a pre-existing document that had a measuring system saved as, say, centimeters, that's what it's going to be until you change it again. Illustrator is a very document-centric kind of program. It really remembers what happened when the document was last saved, and it brings it back like that. Now you want to make the change, click OK. Now there's one more thing I want to show you here. You will notice the 0 right here, and there is another 0 over here. You can't see it, but it's there. This is what we define as the genesis point for the measuring system. 0 and 0. Let's say that you want to move something in an image. Now, all the movement coordinates are going to come from that genesis point, so many inches or so many pixels away from the genesis point. Let's say you have something right about here, and you want to move it 1 inch over to the right, but it's not exactly at, say, 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. Here's something you can do. Grab up here in this upper left-hand corner of where the 2 rulers intersect, and drag down, and let's say the object you want to move is right there, and let go. That now sets your genesis point here and here. If I then move that object, I could get it exactly precisely where I want it to be. Now, there are other ways to do that, but that's pretty interesting. You can move the genesis point of the ruler. Now, if you want to put it back, just double-click right here, and it will go right back for you. The rulers are important. They measure in the system that works best for you or one you need for the project that you're working on. It is document specific, and it's there if you need it. Go into your working folder and open up fishy.ai one more time. We've used this previously in this lesson or in this chapter. What I want to do now is show you something that I really use a lot once I got used to using it. Now see, to me, this is all about habits. We all have bad habits. I'm not going to tell you my bad habits, but I have a few. And we have good habits. I could just spend all day telling you about my good habits. To me, in Illustrator, it's about using something enough to develop it into a habit. And this is actually a really good one. It's views, changing view. Let me show you something. Let me pick up my zoom tool. We got these 4 fish on the screen. We've got 2 angelfish. I don't know what that is. And that, I think, I don't know what that is either. Anyway, I'm going to zoom in on this guy right here. Now, in the course of what I'm doing in terms of my work, I go to this view a lot and work on that part of the image. I don't want to have to use my zoom tool to constantly do that. So I go up to the word view on the pull-down menu and go all the way down to New View. Now we'll call this one Angel 1. Click OK. Now I'll double-click on my hand tool to take it back down to a manageable size and zoom in again on this guy. And this time I'm going to change the view first to outline. Okay. And then we'll go into view again and go down to New View. We'll call this Angel 1 Outline. Now the reason I'm doing that is just to prove a point, is anything you do to the view can be incorporated into what we're doing right now. So let's double click one more time on the hand tool and let's go back into a regular view, preview, and zoom in one more time maybe on this guy. And one more. Because I really don't have a clue what that is. I'm not a fish person. Click OK. I like them when I'm eating them. Let me go ahead and double click on the hand tool. Now I want to get to those views as I am working and designing. So think about it that way. You have a complicated, and ours isn't complicated, but you have a complicated Illustrator document and you're going to different areas. Or you realize there's an area you're going to need to work on, so you make these views. You come back to the word view and go all the way down, and there they are. So we can go Angel 1 Outline, take you right there. We can go back, say, to my fish question mark right here. If we go back to the word view and go into Edit, we can, well, delete them or rename them if we want to. If we decide we don't want outline, we can select it. We can rename it, or we can say, nah, don't want it. To me, it was a habit that I developed. But once I began using them, to me, I found this, and it's just me, everybody works differently, but I found it a valuable thing to be able to change that view quickly to get where I want to go. Go into your working folder and open up lockhide.ai. It's just a simple image, and I do have some things I want to talk about control. This chapter has kind of been about control, hasn't it? Now let me do this. Let me bring the layers panel up here, something like that. We are going to get more into layers and a lot of the things we're talking about now, but let's just look at what we have. I've got a butterfly and I've got a flower and I have like a, I don't know, mosaic background, whatever. And what I want to do, let's say, is work on, I want to know, the butterfly. Have you ever done this? You come over thinking you've selected, say, the butterfly to move it, but you wind up selecting something else, and I hate it when that happens, and you move the wrong thing. That's where I love undo. I wish life had an undo button, but nobody has figured that out yet. So I've moved the wrong thing. I undo, I put it back. No harm, no foul. But what I want to do maybe is lock the background so I don't accidentally do that. Now, one way we could do that would be to first select the background. It is in a group. We'll talk about that later, but it's in a group. I can go up to the word object and go down to lock and lock selection. Well, it's now locked. I can't move it. I can grab the butterfly. I can grab the flower. I can move those, but I cannot move or manipulate that. If you want to turn that off, come back to Object and say Unlock All. And now we're back to, well, normal. But there is a much easier way to do that. This layer right here, everything is in one layer. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, to be honest with you. You use layers to control things. Typically, I would have a layer for the butterfly, a layer for the flower, and a layer for the background, and then I could do all the control I want. But this is Illustrator, and these are objects. If I click the triangle right here, you can see I've put these into 3 groups. Again, we'll talk about grouping later. But if I want to lock the background, which is this one right here, just click here. You don't have to go up here. Just click there, and it locks the background. Now here's another thing. Turn it off. Let's say I am working on the background, but the butterfly and the flower are getting in the way. Now, one way we could do this is we could select the flower and select the butterfly, go up to the word object and go down to hide selection, and, well, they're hidden. But if we come back up, let's go ahead and show all. The easier way to do that, assuming you've got these things grouped together, is to expand out that layer. And basically, let me go ahead and unselect those. Just come over here and turn them off here. Illustrator is an object-oriented program. So even though I have everything in one single layer, don't try to do this in Photoshop, I still have control over the pieces. Multiple layers would actually be a better scenario. It doesn't increase file size. But anytime you need to work on something, if you have a problem, you do have the ability to do things like locking and hiding to get what you want. It's that simple. One of the questions that I get asked a lot by my students at university when we start getting into courses like Illustrator, and they'll ask this question: how do I make multiple pages? I want page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the answer to that question is so easy. You can't. Adobe Illustrator is an illustrative program. If you want pages, use my absolute favorite program on the entire planet for layout, and that's InDesign. Adobe InDesign is absolutely amazing what it can do. And it does pages, books, ebooks, newsletters, whatever. This program was born and raised to be an illustrative program. That's kind of what I did before computers. I just now do it on a computer. I had an artboard in front of me. I had pencils, color pencils. I had my aspirin bottle and water because I'd get a headache a lot staring at what I was doing. Illustration. This is not a page program. It's an artboard program, but you can do something that I really do like, and I use a lot: multiple artboards. So let's go to the word File and go down to New. Now in here, what we're going to do, well, actually, let's do this first. Let's give it a name. Let's call it Stationery. We're going to change the profile to Print. This is going to be a single document that contains 3 things that work together. It's going to be a 8.5 by 11, we're measuring inches, 8.5 by 11 page that I can type in a letter. It's going to have the envelope so I can print, and it's going to have, say, I don't know, a business card so I can stick that in there too. So that would be 3 separate artboards. 1, 2, 3. Now I like my artboard just kind of going left to right, so I'm going to leave this alone. Spacing is 20 points. That's fine. We're on letter. Let's change the point size here from, well, anyway, from points to inches. Let's go to US inches. And we're going to leave everything else alone. Click OK. Now watch what happens. We got 3 artboards. 1, 2, 3. The first one is going to be our 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that we can type a letter on. The second one will be our envelope. And the third one will be our business card. Okay? Let's start, because you have to access them by using this tool right here. That is the Artboard tool. Now if we come here, let's select this one first. Let's come up here and change that to letterhead. Okay, this one is fine in terms of its size. It's 8.5 by 11. We can leave that alone. Let's go to this one. Now that's going to be, well, let's make this one the envelope. And so we'll come up here and we'll change that to envelope. Now an envelope measured in inches, a standard envelope, business envelope, would be 8.625 inches by 3.625, and that's right over here. So we'll select that and type in 8.625. You can press the Tab key to get to the next field and type in 3.625. And there you go. Now we can move it if you want to place it someplace else. And the third one down here is our business card. Now notice, if you do want to get rid of one of these, you can click the little X right up here. If you want to draw another one, you can come over here and draw another one right here. Let's change this one. Now, a standard business card is, let me come over here, 3.5 in inches, tab by 2. Now, while I'm moving this, let me please just say one thing. I do a lot of marketing work. Understand something about business cards. They come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? I've seen them that look like barking dogs, circles, trapezoids, all kinds of things. Understand according to research. Most people will look at them and go, oh, neat, it's a barking dog business card. Isn't that cool? They won't save it because it won't fit into their little trolley or tray that they put all these things in, and it will be tossed. Get creative with what's on the business card, but keep it standard if you want businesses to keep them. Well, there you go. 3 different, well, actually, let's name this one. Let's call that business card. 3 different cards, or 3 different artboards. I could type a letter on here, I can do the envelope here, and I can do the business card here. We will talk about how you'd print this stuff out later. But it's a great way to work in this program. Don't think of them as pages. They are not pages. That's in design. They are artboards. Each one can be printed individually, or if you have a printer, believe it or not, if you have a printer that has multiple trays, you can instruct it to print this one out of one tray, this one out of another tray, and that one out of another tray all at once. Now, that's not Illustrator. That's just your operating system. But it's a great way to get multiple size documents within one document in Illustrator that relate to each other. I think that's pretty cool. For this lesson, go ahead and open up Adobe Illustrator and just create yourself a blank document. Choose your own size. Have some fun with it. What I want to show you is a feature in Adobe Illustrator that on its own, on its face value, if you will, doesn't seem like it's all that earth-shattering, but it proves a point to me. It proves a point that we as designers, when we talk on the forums, Adobe listens. And even though it might be something small, if it can help us and they can do it, they're going to put it in. What I'm talking about is a different way to resize your artboards. So I am in a blank document. I am in the Essentials workspace right up here. If you're not, go ahead and go there. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go into my artboards. And before we get into that, I'm going to go up to Symbols up here. Now, you should see the same thing that I see. These are the defaults. Pick one. I don't care. Just pick one. I'm going to pick up the shopping cart and drag it right out there. So I have a shopping cart. It is a vector. I can resize it. I can do just about anything I want to it, I guess. Now, what I want is I want the artboard to fit the object itself, which is relatively easy. If we come down here and click this button right here, it gives us our artboard options. Besides naming and other things, there's the width and the height. But you do have an option right here to show center mark. I'm going to turn that on. And then under Custom, right up here, I'm going to say Fit Artwork to the bounds, and to the bounds of the objects that are there. Click OK. And so I guess you could say, voila, I did it. Now we can do this manually. Let me go ahead and do an undo, favorite key in the whole world, and take it back. So I can come over here and pick up my artboard tool and then come over here and go to a corner, I suppose. But you'll notice it's taking it from the corner and it's pushing it up. Let me go ahead and press undo. The new feature that we've never had before is the ability, just like resizing artwork, to resize the artboard from the center. Now, why would I do it this way manually as opposed to what I just did with a click of a button? Well, think of it this way. Maybe I don't want it stuck all the way to the edges of the exact shape. I want to give it some leeway. I want to control the process, but I would like to do it at once and not a couple of times by going to the corners and making all those changes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select our object again. Let's go ahead and go back to our selection tool. And up here, you should see the word Align. Now, if I click Align, and I come down to Align to Artboard right here, and click Center, and Center, it'll put it right in the center. Now, if we come down here and we pick up our Artboard tool, and we go to a corner, we can resize but we're locking in the opposite corner. That's not resizing from center. So let me press undo. Love that key. We know, for example, if I pick up my selection tool, we know how to resize an object from center. We hold down the Alt key, and that's the Alt key in Windows, Option key on a Mac, and we can drag, and we resize in and out from center. The same is now true of your artboard. So if we come over here again and select and come over here, hold down the Alt key or the Option, depending on your operating system, and we come over here, and now we're actually drawing in and out from center. Now, if you add the Shift key, it maintains the proportions of the original as you grow it or shrink it. If you let go, you can decide exactly what you want. Now, I began this lesson by saying that resizing an artboard from center is not like earth-shattering, but it's just one more thing that helps our lives as designers just that much easier. For this lesson, go ahead and just create a brand new document. That's all. Choose anything you want to. Let's talk a little bit more about guides. Now, to me, guides are very important. They help me, well, they guide me, okay? They help me line things up. I can't think of a complex or, I don't know, even a semi-complex kind of document that I've worked on in Illustrator where I've not wanted to use guides. Now, guides come from the rulers. If you don't have them open, you can go to the word View and say Show Rulers, or you can press Control, that's Control in Windows, Command on a Mac, R, to bring them up. Now, let's talk about what we do know, and then I'll show you one or two features that are new to CC. Number one, if we don't like what it's measuring in, we right-click our mouse in the ruler and change it. It's not new, been there forever, nice to know. If we want a guide, we pull it out of the ruler. Again, not new, we can do that all day long. If we want a guide to conform to a tick mark on the ruler bar, we hold the Shift key when we're dragging, and it forces it to just those tick marks. Again, that's not new, but it's nice to know that you've got that. Let go of the mouse before you let go of the Shift key. Now let me go ahead and select these and delete them. They are objects. They can be deleted. The other one that's not new, up in the upper left-hand corner is what I call the Genesis point. It's where it measures 0 from this point going down this way. Let's say I put a box on the screen like this. And let me go ahead and give it a color real quick so we can see it. And for the sake of argument here, I need another box that's exactly 72 pixels from the right side of that box. Now, there are a lot of ways that I can do that, all right? But if I come up here and grab in this area right here between the rulers and drag, and it'll lock me right there if I want to go there, that's my new 0 point. So I could then, I could bring a guide just to make sure, hold the Shift key, go right to 72. I start drawing again, I'm exactly 72 from that one. If I double click up here, it resets it. Let me go ahead and let's get rid of those two things. The new features. Number one, if I need a guide that's vertical or horizontal, I don't have to drag it out. All I have to do is come up here and double click. That's new. It's also easy. But what if I need it at exactly 288? Well, I can try to get there if I want to. I know I can move it if I don't correctly position it. But if you hold the Shift key down before you double click, it will put it toward the closest tick mark on the ruler. So just get close, you're going to be okay. Let me go ahead and select and delete these one more time. One more feature. If we go back up to this point right here between the rulers, the 0 point, and hold the Control key in Windows, Command key on a Mac down before we drag. And it looks about the same, but watch what happens. I've dragged down two guides exactly where I wanted them. If I do that again, Control key on Windows, Command key on a Mac, I could begin placing guides on the screen in a very quick way. Guides to me are indispensable. They really do help us do things in this program, and with these two new features, they just became more valuable. When we're talking about applications like Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, whatever, I demand one thing, control. I demand, I expect control of the program. And Adobe is doing something, in my opinion, that I call liquid creativity. Now, what I mean by that is the technology that drives our programs is getting amazing with gestures and being able to actually move in the air in front of your screen and make changes. It's making everything natural in a sense. We're becoming a part of the machine, or the machine is becoming a part of us. And I don't know where I end and the machine begins and vice versa, but that's a good thing because it gives us a natural feel for what we're doing. And one of the things about that is control. So in this lesson, I want to talk about generating, if you will, your very own tool panel. Now, I have a blank document open. That's really all you need to do. Let's go up to the word Window on the pull-down menu and go down to Tools and select New Custom Tools Panel right there. Now, you have to give it a name. Andy's Excellent Tools. Click OK. And there you go. So I think you would agree with me up to this point. It's been pretty easy, very straightforward. The hard part at this point to me, and it's not really hard, but it's not making it, is it? That's easy. And you can have as many of these as you want. The hardest part is deciding based on what you do, watching what you do, and observing your workflow on the tools that would help you the best. Let me do this. Let me move it over just a little bit. And let's look at all the tools we have over here. Let's say that we work a lot with our pen tool. So that would be one that I would like to have on there. Now, you know, if you click on one of these, you get the pen tool and the options. You can also tear it off right here. Now, let's go ahead and move that over just a little bit. I do like that tear off feature. Now, to be honest with you, if your goal is to work with the pen tool and the pen tool options, why would you go to the trouble of creating a brand new tool panel just for that when you have them right here? And I would agree. But let's do this. We want the pen tool, so let's drag it over. Put it right here. And there it is. But here's the difference. On the default tool panel over here, you can click and get the options. You can tear the options off. Over here, you just get the one tool. Every tool and every option gets its own button. So if we want this one, drag that one over too. How about this one? And the convert. But again, if that's all we're doing, why are we doing this? Let's go ahead and close this out. I also want maybe my paintbrush tool right here. Well, drag it directly over. And I do work with the pencil tool, but I don't want the smooth or the path eraser. So I'll just do the pencil tool itself right here. Just like that. You can have as many tools on here as you want. It really doesn't matter. And if we're done with this one, we can come back up to the word Window and go down to Tools. And we can go into Manage right down here. Now, like I said, we can create a new one right here if we want to. If we decide we don't want this one anymore, we can delete it. If we want to rename it, we can rename it. If you close it down and you want to bring it back again, you go to the word Window, go to Tools, and select it. Creating your own customized tool panels is just one more way to gain control of a program and become more a part of the process. And in doing so, more creativity. Liquid creativity.